Yeah, good move. Should be over.
Championship contender. Oh, we got to launch on the inside. And there you have it. All said and done.
Metro trying to the inside. Here we are then. For the lead. For the lead. Does he make a move? Tries. No, can't do it. Gets his nose chopped right up. Not close enough to make a move. I would have picked down the inside. What a dive. And does do it. What a dive from such a long way back.
Unbelievable.
That wasn't even an overtaking opportunity, and now he's coming back side by side, down into the right-hander, and they almost touch around the outside, now down the inside. Look at this, side by side. Absolutely bonkers, and this lets Pirelli catch up. Down the inside goes, down the inside. Beautiful move. Does he do it? Pulls it off. Fantastic move then. It was Gav left.
Oh, Tsuki. Oh my. The most cartoon crash ever. It's no improvement for Hiker. Is it going to be one for It Forgets? Yes, but they... Oh my god. Now that is teammates. That is how identical those cars are. Exactly the same time. 120.823.
Down the inside here, he'll try the... Oh, he's on the grass! On the grass! And passes! And tries! Now he's going to be diving on the brakes! Down the inside goes Sigurdsson and go, what a move from the Italian!
There's 1 point in it. Van Elk wins by 1 point otherwise. So Razy's got... He's he's lost it. Oh, Van Elk spun. Van Elk, oh, they both spun. Oh my god. Oh my god. They will both be going mental.
Sweden wins the American Grand Prix. Let's go to third position, Low, as coming through and crossing the line, your new world champion. Hyo is the champion of the world. Metro 666 comes the line and wins the Japanese Grand Prix, and with it the title itself, and slows right down.
Is he got it? Yeah.
And world champion, Vectro 666, finally. Well, 5 lights, and we're underway, and well, there goes the grid, and they're gone. Something has gone horribly wrong.
Up the inside of Hiker, nice move there. Hiker noticed him and gave the space.
And away we go, and it's a very good start from Rip It Up. Look at him, right down the middle. Vectro also getting away very well there. Sig up the inside. Is he going to make it stick? Yes, he is. No, he's not.
Almost made contact.
Almost made contact there.
Get through. I think they've all got through.
Everyone has got through there. Rip It Up going a bit slowly on the inside there. Solid Salita losing the back end, but keeps it.
See down the inside. That's going to be a easy move if he does get anywhere. But again, Furia breaks very late. Oh.
Here as these two battle away. Skulls going around the outside later on the brakes. Harry Potter taking the inside line. He's still there. Harry Potter's gone wide. Skull diving all over the place on the track. He's got to be careful of Boston Road. Boston Road's caught right up. Boston Road's going up the inside. Skull's just noticed him. They're side by side, almost.
He's looking around the outside into the last corner, into the clock curve. That's brave. That's very brave.
You think this one's Hector? Oh boy, yeah.
Oh, he tried that inside! And he got to move this time. He's alongside and trying and hurry. And he's trying to the outside. Is he even going to give him that? He's going to brake late. Can Andre try a cutback? No, not yet. He'll be brave to go on the lead. Looking for the lead. Vectro takes the lead here. And now red timesing and hits him almost. Does almost hit him.
I thought he was going to then, but he moved. I think he moved over.
Inside goes DJ. Does he make the move? No, he backs out of it. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. No, he definitely doesn't. Well, down the inside goes Matteo. There we go. Back down the inside. Have that one, son. So now he's going to go around the inside again, isn't he? If he goes down the inside again, I'll be bonkered. Nah, you can't. That's going to end the contact. No, it's on side, and then backs out of it. Oh, he runs wide. Oh, he's going to go around the inside. That's Alonso. There was Alonso with a Massa. Oh, that's Ferrari around this corner. Here we are then for the Belgium Grand Prix. 5 lights. Go! And Barry gets a fantastic start. Ethan left trolling behind there. And further back, Ethan already going defensive at turn 1. Down the inside comes one of the BMWs now. And almost taps the side of the Mercedes further back. Carnage going on there. And I believe they all get through cleanly at turn 1 this time. Ferrari though, he's going to have a look down the inside. Down the inside goes Ferrari. Covering off goes the Ferrari. Round the outside goes it forgets. Well, this is bonkers down the back. Well, talk about great racing to end the year. Again, not good enough there. It's this track. He's going to try on the outside. One's wide, and he's going to be side by side. Is Salita going to try down the inside? They're going to make contact. They're not.
Vector's ran off the track. Yes. Vector did run off the track there, but I don't think...
Get away with it.
He might just get away with it.
Going to make the move. Yes. Into the lead. Pulls alongside. Pulls ahead the Audi. First of the Ferrari. Now Ronnie is going to be going shallow. Can he go on the outside again? Yes. Yes. Fight. And takes the lead again. And watch out for that McLaren following behind. This is fantastic stuff. Your top 3 separated by under 1 second. And coming along is Solo Salita. He's going to try turn 1. Does he get through? They all finally, I think they've all got through at turn 1 correctly. I think it's finally happened. They've all got through turn 1. Will they get through turn 2? They almost make contact at the back. They're all squirming together.
Let's see, and Alessio's lost it again, and a Ferrari at the same time. Synchronised spinning right there.
I don't think anything can Red do. Gav into the lead. Gav leads the Belgian Grand Prix. And boy, oh boy, has this turned into a shocker. Red in the pit for the lead. He's got a beautiful run. Slingshots past and takes the lead. Now,
to have the inside.
We'll have the inside. Now, this could be close. And down the inside. Yes, he does do it. One's a bit wide. Cut back could be on the options. Now, side by side, they come down here. Ho's going to try and give him as much of a squeeze. And does take second position there. Oh, he tries slow. Backs out that time. It's the rear almost there.
So close.
From behind the slipstream, I don't think Alessio's going to do too much about this as he goes down the inside into turn 1. Alessio's going to try and hold it around the outside, gets on the grass, around the outside. Alessio tries to hold on, and it's not going to quite do it for Alessio, and Ferrari makes that move and gets it finished.
Pulling along. He's going to go to the lead. They've got Sig on the outside. It's going to be free into turn 1. Is it all going to be clean? The answer to that is a grand total of yes. It seems to be. Running wide. There goes Fundown. He's going to jump up to second. Sig drops down to 4th, and this is going
third
well.
Position in this Grand Prix. Look at Pancho. He might give him a little squeeze towards the wall. Down the inside goes in for yes for 3rd position. Can he get it done, or will he hold it around the outside? He'll try. He will try to hold it around the outside. He gives him the squeeze. Contact made. Good little battle. In forgets will move to 3rd position, and can he come back? No, he can't. Good little battle from those 2 guys there.
Brave if he's going to try. I think he'll back out of it. Surely he has to, unless it's me, because I would have made a move, but he backs out of it. One's wide. He's going to go for the lead. He is into the lead, and he leads. Skull lead. Battling Mantle there. Down the inside. That's a good move. We'll get it there. Over the curve. Bagging tyres.
Did he cut him there? Did he cut him? I thought he cut him.
Does it. Podium. He's on the podium. Finally. He's done it. After so long. Forza Gavra. There's everyone celebrating. Solo Salita's just having a donut. Does do it. Same position where another car with a side-by-side. Down to our route. This could end badly. Does it? Brazy bravely backs out of that one. He's not going to try that. He'd be mad to try side-by-side.
Ruapuna Park. The lights go red for Ruapuna Park. Round 6. And it's go! And Cash gets an amazing start for Raleigh. Gets away well. Alessio gets a storming start. Goes into second. He's going to
try it.
On the brakes.
Yes, he tries, takes a slice. Down inside he goes. One's wide. Throws him through as well. And into second place. That's how you do
12
it. 12
cars are within a second of each other. Actually, 13 are within a second of each other. That is actually madness. That shows how evenly matched it is.
Might take him on the inside again.
He's challenging. Oh, he is. Look at this.
No.
Does Sig battles with a wild Renault. Look at that side by side behind. Around the outside. Sig, and I think around the outside as well. To go DJ Luke, and they're still side by side. Would you look at this? You don't see this very often. Ooh. Well, great stuff between those 2.
Side by side again. What's ooh.
Yeah, good move. Should be able.
Championship contender. Oh, he's going to launch down the inside. And there you have it. All said and done.
Metro trying to the inside. Here we are then. For the lead. Does he make a move? Tries. No, can't do it. Gets his nose chopped right off. Not close enough to make a move. I would have picked down the inside. What a dive! And does do it. What a dive from such a long way back.
Unbelievable.
That wasn't even an overtaking opportunity, and now he's coming back side by side, down into the right-hander, and they almost touch around the outside, now down the inside. Look at this, side by side. Absolutely bonkers, and this lets Pirelli catch up. Down the inside goes, down the inside. Beautiful move. Does he do it? Pulls it off. Fantastic move then.
It was Gav left.
Oh, Tsuki! Oh my... The most cartoon crash ever. It's a... no improvement for Hiker. Is it going to be one for It Forgets? Yes, but they... Oh my god. Now that is teammates. That is how identical those cars are. Exactly the same time. 120.823.
Down the inside here, he'll try the... Oh, he's on the grass! On the grass! And passes! And tries! Now he's going to be diving on the brake! Down the inside goes Silverstone and go, what a move from the Italian!
There's 1 point in it. Van Elk wins by 1 point otherwise. So Razy's got... He's lost it. Oh, Van Elk spun. Van Elk, they both spun. Oh my god. Oh my god. They will both be going mental.
Sweden wins the American Grand Prix. Let's go to third position, Low, as coming through and crossing the line, your new world champion. Hyo is the champion of the world. Metro 666 comes the line and wins the Japanese Grand Prix, and with it the title itself, and slows right down.
Is he got it? Yeah.
And world champion, Vectro 666, finally. Well, 5 lights, and we're underway, and well, there goes the grid, and they're gone. Something has gone horribly wrong.
Up the inside of Hiker, nice move there. Hiker noticed him and gave the space.
And away we go, and it's a very good start from Rip It Up. Look at him, right down the middle. Vectro also getting away very well there. Sig up the inside. Is he going to make it stick? Yes, he is. No, he's not.
Almost made contact.
Almost made contact there.
Get through. I think they've all got through.
Everyone has got through there. Rip It Up going a bit slowly on the inside there. Solid Salita losing the back end, but keeps it.
See down the inside. That's going to be a easy move if he does get anywhere. But again, Furia breaks very late. Oh.
Hello, good evening, good day, good afternoon, and welcome back to another Grand Prix and another qualifying session here at the GAVRA Racing GT3 Super Championship as we see the cars go around here at the Nurburgring GP circuit, a very, very challenging circuit, especially with the circumstances that we have today. Bad weather will play a factor in, as we should see maybe some rain coming in shortly in the race, and looks like it might be dry for qualifying here. We could see a couple of sprinkles, but I'm presuming it's going to be dry. Low temperatures, that'll give some factors to setup, and maybe some setup changes due to maybe tires or weather conditions. I've got my man Hyo here with me. Hyo, how are you today?
Quite fine. Hello everybody. I hope the audio this time is right, so we can hear everybody. Yeah, let's have a really nice race here in Germany. Apparently last week there was bad weather in Germany, so we will see some rain, but shouldn't limit the fun today. It should increase it actually. So yeah, let's see how the race works out.
Yes, we'll definitely see how the race goes, but we're starting off here with qualifying with 22 minutes 40 remaining, a 25-minute qualifying session, so they are in the garage for a bit, just getting the setup done after a 10-minute practice session. The fastest time that we saw, I believe, was a 1 minute 57 flat or so, as looks like all the drivers are practically out on circuit, as we see Cashnit, our last week's winner, 2 weeks ago winner, as we didn't have a race last week. He was just absolutely on fire with pole position, fastest lap, and the winner of the race. One would ask him if he'll do the same here at the Nurburgring with the Audis, obviously a German company. I'm starting to sound a bit German myself. But it looks like a bit of a Porsche track here today with the man of Allo Champs and I think it's FSU. I think that's how you say his name. But he's currently in the pit lane now. But we should see some setup changes, as we'll have. If I take a look at the forecast, we'll have heavy cloud, following by some light rain, and then going into overcast. And don't forget that we will be starting the race at 7 PM at night, 19:00, and the drivers will have to challenge with practically everything we can throw at them. Darkness, followed by rain, followed by everything. Hero, what does this do mentally to a driver?
Yeah, I think if you are afraid of this weather changes, then you did something wrong in the preparation for this race. So preparation is always the key, and we are doing sim racing, so the weather conditions are a bit more predictable for us than in the real world. So we basically know, or the drivers should know, which lap they actually go in. It slightly changes in online races, the weather, when the rain starts to increase a bit, but it should be like at 12 or 13th lap or so. The drivers should come in for rain tires, so I think they are prepared, and they are looking forward actually to the rain, to basically show off their skills in the rain, and show off how they set up the car to these conditions, because I guess all these drivers will set up the car for the rain conditions, because that's the most crucial part of the race, the most difficult part. So they will probably, like you said earlier, running with higher downforce, maybe a bit weaker springs or so. And now qualifying, maybe they slightly change it, but I don't think the qualifying is that important in such a race with a lot of pit stops, or at least one pit stop to change tires. So should be fun today.
Yeah, should be very enjoyable qualifying and race again today. Nürburgring GP circuit always throws up some sort of an amazing race, as we get our first times here in qualifying. An amazing 155.6 from or 155.7 if you round it up a bit, but that's Cashnit really showing what he's made of today here at the Nürburgring GP circuit. He's looking on fire as we follow his teammate Ferrelli Jr., who's second in the championship. The British man going to be able to show what he's able to do in that souped up Ferrari. Obviously must be a fan of Lewis Hamilton with the 44 number on his car, but definitely a challenging qualifying session so far, as some of the drivers look to be challenging definitely within practice of the Schumacher S's in the middle sector. It looks to be throwing the cars a little bit under balance. If you catch that curb a bit, you can definitely send the car offline and straight into the gravel, as Vector showed us. But Ferrelli only goes P3 currently with a 156 and heads back to the pit lane. Matt's going to come over the line now. What is he able to do? He goes 10th place with a 159, just off 2 minutes. FFU comes through the middle sector now, down into the Dunlop curve, I believe, or is that Suzuka? I can't remember. Anyway, he's coming into the Dunlop. Out of Dunlop now, second gear, you just turn the front end of the nose in, and if the nose starts to step wide, lift off the throttle a bit. I felt doing some practice laps around here in a Ferrari. It was a very challenging circuit to get right, and I say if you get the right line around here in the right braking zone, you can really hook up a lap, and we could see some drivers maybe putting it somewhere up the field to show that they are worth the drive here, and they are worth how to really drive a race car around a very, very challenging circuit. So he comes through into Vidal, into the chicane, and then out to the Coca-Cola curve once again. But yeah, definitely a very traction limited circuit. If you put the power down a bit too early on some of these long left and right handing corners, it's a bit challenging for the driver, especially with undulation change heading into turn 1 for the Castrol S. It's very difficult for the drivers to figure out a braking zone here and where the turning in point is. So I think that was a car round as FSU, I think he's starting his lap now. He was in the pit lane for quite some time. We'll go on board with him here just to take a look on what he's up to. No, that's the off board. There we go. Yeah, it looks like we got a little bit of blue sky, but maybe that's just my eyes. But it looks like there's still quite heavy overcast. This could be what they're expecting in the race at the very start, but of course it's going to be quite dusk and quite low sun, so the drivers will have to run with their lights on to be able to see around this circuit. It's definitely one not to have too much spread out of the field, and we'll hope that the field doesn't spread out and stays quite bunched up. But then again, you got to think when a car's bunched up, then that's going to make it very difficult for the drivers to remain focused and definitely remain vigilant in these conditions, especially with the rain coming later on in the race, as Hio was talking about. But as we can see, the onboard with FSU 62 here, it looks like to be challenging most of the corners here, looking very confident, running quite heavy on fuel, so maybe he's just getting down pat with the car. But I guess that's just how he gets acclimatized to the car. Coming through the chicane here, someone's already knocked the bollards off, so someone's definitely run wide. Let's see what lap time he can do as he comes around the Coca-Cola curve, past the pit lane there, so he's definitely not coming in now. He's committed to this lap. He's going to cross the line, and what time's he able to do? He goes 7th fastest with a 1:58, still 3 seconds off our man Cashnet, who's still in P1, and the drivers definitely look to be setting some relatively quick lap times. And should probably remind you of the race rundown from last week, I believe. So it was Cashnet who won the last race, followed by Forelli Jr. and Allo Champs scoring out the podium positions, with Flip Flip in 4th, Vectro 666 in 5th, Ibridge in 6th, Matt in 7th, Mayo in 8th, Pete B scoring out a good 9th place, Hussar in 10th, Pollux in 11th, and Flyboy in 12th, Phoenix in 13th, FSU, who I didn't believe was there. No, he was there, he was racing, in 14th, and yeah, that's about the race rundown there for the Algarve Grand Prix there in Portugal. And now we can see what the drivers are going to be able to do today back on board with Cashnet. So yeah, it's a very challenging circuit here, and I think we should see some drivers maybe having a couple of spins, or maybe catching a bit of a drift, but we'll never know really. And Hio, do you reckon we might see any drivers having a bit of a spin, having a bit of a drift around this circuit, or do you have to remain very focused every time?
I guess you have to remain very focused every time or every lap here, especially in the rain. But yeah, I think we will still see some spins. But I also thought that at Brno, and actually the drivers were really stable in their driving. So let's see what happens today. I'm actually also surprised that Cashnet is that fast today, with a 1:55.6. That's ridiculous in a GT3 around here. Yeah, but that's Cashnet, yeah. So you somehow expect something unusual from him. Let's see if he can, yeah, continue or just hold this kind of advantage over the other drivers during the rain session. You never know. Yeah. By the way, yeah, like last week's, we also have the highlight videos from the last race, which is now 2 weeks ago. So you might probably not remember everything. You already told the final standings, but it's still a nice race to watch. So we will just play the highlights and then be back for the qualifying session for the last few minutes for the fight for the pole position and the places behind that.
Definitely. We get ready to go to 5 red lights here in Portugal in Algarve. It's green lights and away we go. Cashnet looks to get a good start there. Ferrelli, heading to the middle of the track now, down to the outside of the track, blocking off any advantages as we look down the field now. Everyone looking like to get through their time. Ibrich has lost his place to Allo Champs and Flip. Not very good. Everyone getting through there. The Lamborghini of Vectro having a little fight with Fenati, I believe that was. Everyone looking to get there very nicely, though Vectro's run wide. Will that give the opportunity to anyone else as we look down the field? And I think that is Flyboy off. No, it's not. That's F7 off, which is absolutely detrimental. I think they're going to go too wide nearly down into turn 1. The two BMWs look to get very close there, and I think that, yeah, that was one of the Nissans getting spun off, which was absolutely terrible. But Cashnet getting a beautiful start there, and I think that might be one of the Lamborghinis round as well. Yes, that is. That's the Lamborghini of Vectro, who's managed to rejoin the track, looking for a move on Flip. He's got the move done. They're going to head side by side. What are they going to be able to do? Are they still side by side? Yes, they are. This is going to be absolutely close, and it looks like Ibridge has got the position. It looks like maybe he might get the move on the straight. I'd wait until the straight, get that straight line speed on that Lamborghini in the slipstream. Oh, he's really close. God damn, that's close. I don't know how he...
really in position here. He could take the pair of them on the main straight.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well, as it looks like one of the Lamborghinis has gone wide. He definitely does. Now, yeah, that is Matt, as it looks like Mayo's got the position done as well, and that is now going to give Vectro a good chance to maybe have a little bit of a sniff on his teammate as well. Do you reckon this is where mistakes start to happen, as Mayo definitely got very close? Maybe he's going to go around the outside. No, he isn't. Maybe up the inside. But no, I'll turn the question back to you, Jordan. Do you reckon this is where mistakes do start to happen?
Well, I wouldn't have thought so, because this should be the time where all the drivers have a bit of a calm down period now. Everyone's a little bit more spread out. I think.
Well, I tell you someone who isn't calming down, Mayo. Yeah, he's gone up the inside.
He's got that. He has got that beautifully there.
No way. No way that Fenati's coming back. Definitely he will have a look. He's right up the exhaust gas of that Renault. Obviously you can see... Yeah, I don't think anyone will... Oh no, Fenati goes wide. And yeah, that's just taking, once again, candy from a baby. A lifelong battle as Matt has a look up the inside of Fenati, maybe trying to go around the outside. He did go right round the outside. And that was once again beautifully done. Maybe not Vectro. Maybe Vectro is looking for the position. He's really right up the rear end. Will he go for the move?
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Matt is under pressure from the Renault coming down the main straight. I think he's not quite done it. No.
It's he could maybe look to the outside here.
Oh, I thought he was going to look for the switchbacks that left-hander to get the inside.
Oh, he did.
That's a done deal. But if you get it right, it's a very nice feeling. As Vectro goes past Matt there into turn 1, I can only feel that was Matt almost letting him through there.
Yeah, definitely is. Once again, Mats might have a look up the inside there. The two fighting once again. I think Mats just let him go, realise who's the faster driver.
That Cadillac is very quick in a straight line.
Yes, it is, and he might do it up the inside. He is going to do it up the inside. I think this is a... Yep. Oh, no, he's run it wide. Look at those brakes. Absolutely on fire, and I think Mayo might have spun. Did Mayo spin?
I don't know, but he's lost a lot of time.
And I think Pete's let Mayo through, which was very good of Pete there. He's going to be looking for the position here. Obviously, Pete's gone to the inside now. He's definitely a hell of a lot faster. Yes, he will, and I think he's made the corner there, and Mayo just has nothing to fight for, really. That was a beautiful overtake by Pete. The Audi driver's definitely going to win this race as he comes across the line. No, that's not the line. I got that confused so many times. He's going to come across the line now to finish the race here on lap 44. Cashnet, the Audi driver, has done an absolute beautiful job. He controlled it from the start. He controlled it to the end, and he's won this Grand Prix. He comes across the line to finish now in P2. That car had some good downforce on it today, and he finishes out our podium in P3. So welcome back from the highlights of the Algarve Grand Prix there, as Cashnet gets it all wrong and he's straight into the pit lane there. Very action-packed while you were gone. We saw a couple of spins and a very close one between Ibrich and I think it might have been Phoenix as well. But speaking of that, I'll read you the rundown once again. It's Cashnet followed by Flip Flip, then Pirelli, then Ibrich, then Vectro, who just moves up the field in front of Pollux. Pollux now in 6th place with Allo Champs in 7th, who moves up from 9th. His teammate, the two Porsches, locking out 7th and 8th. Flyboy is in 9th with Matt in the Lamborghini in 10th. We have Mayo, who's Ibrich's teammate, in the other Ferrari in 11th. Hussa in the Nissan in P12. Pete in the Cadillac in P13, and Phoenix locking out the final grid position there in P14. But every driver looks like to be adapting to the circuit very well. Still no one able to beat Cashnet's time of 1 minute 55.630 with Flip Flip the only man close to that in the 1 minute 55s, with Pirelli behind him. So could we see Flip Flip maybe having some sort of advantage here on Cashnet, or maybe Ibrich sitting happy in P4 there, doing very well in the Ferrari to get it round here. But it looks like Pirelli might have a bit of a problem. We did see someone knock over the bollard at turn 1, as looks like every driver's taking quite a wide line there. I take it quite tight, but what can I say? I'm not out there doing it right now. But every driver seeming to be able to keep the car on the track. As I say that, Pirelli goes over the curbs. That might have invalidated his lap time. Maybe he's just heating up the tyres, going for another run. He still has 5.5 litres of fuel left, so more than enough to get around another lap of this circuit. But yeah, every driver looks like to be going very, very quick in this circuit, and within the final 4 minutes or so, we could see some drivers pulling out some amazing times. I'm expecting Matt and Mayo to move up the field a bit, get in front of maybe Allo Champs and Pollux in the Renault there, to see if they can move up a little bit. But yes, every driver looking to be quite competitive today. Still Phoenix, the only man being in the 2 minute time, so he's happy that he needs to improve, and he definitely will need to improve, as I think Ibrich improved there by just under a tenth of a second or so. But Vectro still following this Lamborghini around. I think that that V10 engine will show something to go today. I'm thinking maybe a possible P2 if he's able to improve by maybe just under a second or so. Maybe just over a second would be good. But yeah, he takes that corner, not necessarily great. Caught the curbs a bit and he might slow down a bit. He could have a slow down penalty, but we don't know. He definitely did, because he slowed that car down. And coming through, I believe it's turn 13 now, up to the chicanes of Vidal for turn 14, followed by 15. But I think he's just preparing for another lap, the 66 driver, and he's run wide a bit there, so maybe pushing it on exit just a tad, and maybe just getting it all wrong. We should see some fast times now with 2 minutes 25 remaining. The drivers might want to start thinking about coming out of that pit lane and getting ready to set another lap. We could see Pirelli maybe staying in the garage, but it looks like everyone's actually returning to the pit lane, funnily enough. So maybe we won't see any more lap times to be done, but Vectro, definitely the man to be focusing on now in the Lamborghini, definitely trying to put his car a little bit further up the field. This more than likely won't be his last run, so maybe this one's just one to get the tyres up to heat. He runs a little bit wide off the track, coming down into turn 6 now, a heavy braking zone. Just before the curbing starts, got that turn in beautifully in second gear, and it looks like that's a Ferrari stopped on the track. Is that Ibrich? I think that was Ibrich who was stopped on the track there. I think he was just letting Vectro through. I don't think that was any mechanical problems or any damage or things like that, but Vectro running a little wide, saw a little bit of sparks come up there. So he's definitely pushing this car through the Schumacher S's or the Audi S's. I don't know which one it's called. He runs very wide now, down into 11, into 12 after that. Got the turn in beautifully there in second gear. He's keeping those revs very, very high there in second and third. Definitely using a lot of engine braking now on to a practically, I think, it's a straight. It's a little bit of a kink through 13. He's definitely pushing the limits of this Lamborghini, running low downforce on the front and high on the rear, as I believe. Coming through 14 and 15, he's definitely pushing the limits now, and we might see him push a little bit too hard like he did on his lap before and go round. It doesn't look like it, but definitely looks like he'll come across the line maybe to set a better lap than he did before. What can he set? I don't think he's improved. Maybe he got his lap time invalidated, but we don't know at this stage. We're going to hop over to our man. Ooh, no, never mind. Vectro did a little bit of a drift, locking the rears there, I believe, or maybe locking a front left or right, making the car turn a bit like Romain Grosjean. I think just ploughed the power just to keep it in a straight line. That's qualifying complete now. I think Cashnet might have made it across the line. No, he didn't. He improved by a tenth or so, but now we see Flip, maybe the man to improve now, coming in to the Dunlop curve. He gets a relatively good line through there. That's Pirelli into the pits now. So Vectro, no, he's abandoned his lap there. Maybe Ibrich, the last man to set a lap time here. He could have also finished off his lap with Vectro just in front of him. Maybe these two are able to pull something out of the hat. They're a second down, so they need to improve by just over a second to get somewhere up the field. Coming into the Schumacher S's through a 9 and 10, Ibrich looks like to get a relatively good line through there. Takes it wide the first part, then into the second part, just clipping some of the curb. Getting into the darkness now, so the drivers will have to start to adapt. That's Vectro now in the pit lane. I think he might have had a little bit of spin, so yeah, he definitely did at the start of his lap, so that wouldn't have helped him whatsoever. Now we're following with Ibrich, the only man that could improve on this track now, through 13, coming into 14 now. Of Vito, what is he able to do into 14 now? Heavy braking at about the 100-meter board or so. He takes it a little wide. That might have invalidated his lap, and I believe it has. And that is the end of qualifying here at the Nurburgring Circuit GP. Our times that follow have Cashnet in first with a 1 minute 55.5, with Flip following him second. Pirelli there in third, Ibrich there in fourth, Vectro in fifth, Pollux in the Renault in sixth, Fly Boy doing well to get that BMW up into 7th. Allo Chance not the fastest, but I tell you what, he's stable and he's consistent in the race there in 8th. His teammate FSU in the other Porsche in 9th. Matt in the other Lamborghini being outperformed by his teammate by 5 positions, sitting happy in 10th. With Mayo, the man outside the top 10 there, and the other Ferrari sitting happy in P11. Hussa there in P12 in the other Nissan, compared to his teammate of Flip Flip, who beats him by 10 positions there, with Pete there in 13th in the Cadillac, looking relatively okay for this race. You got to remember he got 9th place last weekend, sorry, 2 weekends ago. God, that keeps flipping me over, and I believe our last man was Pollux. So there's the rundown for you. The British man gets pole position with Flip Flip. The German in the Nissan happy in 2nd, and Ferrari not on the front row for a long time. The Italian won't be necessarily happy with that in the 13th, but he will be starting behind his teammate, and maybe on the cleaner side of the grid if I'm remembering the Nurburgring, the Nürburgring GP grid layout. So I think he'll be on the cleaner side of the grid, with Ferrari maybe on the dirtier side, but we'll have a better run down into turn 1. Sorry, not Ferrari, Flip Flip having a better run down into turn 1, but I'm going to make my predictions for the race now. I think Ibrich might pull something out of the hat, and maybe we could see Pollux do very well in that. Renault, the British man, going to be trying to push to get perfection here. Hio, what do you think about that qualifying session here at the Nurburgring?
Yeah, great qualifying session. I'm a bit surprised by Flip Flip in 2nd position, but maybe he's trying to pull off his first race win in GAVRA Racing here, or the first win outside of Academy. So it's his first season in the real championships or the main championships of GAVRA Racing. He was quite good. He's currently in the Drivers' Championship. He's at 4th position, so that's quite good. A bit of head of Vectro now, and yeah, it's a German course today, German track. So maybe he has some kind of home advantage, because all German drivers or all German sim racers know the Nurburgring. Already, every lap, every inch of the course. So that might be some home field advantage against a very strong Ferrari B team in the Audi, who has the constructors' home advantage, if you want to put it like that. But Flip Flip might surprise us all here. Let's see. It's open. It's an open question who will go off with the win today.
Yeah, it definitely is an open question here, but Cashnet with his amazing starts as of late, with his teammates starting behind him, and I think I was right with the grid layout. I managed to get it right. 16 turns for us today, a 5.1 kilometer track to be racing around here in lovely Germany. And the drivers definitely will be getting prepared for 34 laps around the Nurburgring, a predicted race time of about an hour and 10 minutes or so. So we should see the drivers starting very soon here, ready for 5 red lights ahead of the Nurburgring Grand Prix, as I think this is time starting now. So we'll get underway very shortly, as I think we're going to head to 5 red lights as they rev their engines. Let's get ready to go, and it's lights out and away we go. Looks like Cashnet got a beautiful start there against the rest of the field. He might have got a bit of a jump start, but Pollux looks like to be going to the outside now. Hussa onto the inside, sorry, with Flip Flip there again onto the inside of his teammate. Pollux is up into P2 momentarily. Ferrari getting all fumbled, and he locks up, and looks like Pollux got a little bit of contact with Flip Flip, and that's one of the Lamborghinis in the background tangling with his teammate. So those are the 2 Lamborghinis, maybe out of contention, maybe a little bit of Red Bull type of ordeal there, but Flip down into 3rd. Looks like Allo Champs has been able to move up the field. A big fan of Valtteri Bottas, I presume, with the 77 number. Looks like Flyboy has been able to move up the field there in the BMW M3. FSU following in the Porsche just behind that BMW, with Mayo looks behind very well in that Ferrari. He runs a little bit, and that's That's FSU into the background now as he moves right down the field. Matt's going to follow him through. Matt has heavy damage to his car. FSU is off the track, and the two Lamborghinis not doing very well. I think, yeah, that's Vectro who had a problem with his car, and Matt, I believe, has some sort of mechanical problem. Maybe as we move back up the field, looks like maybe one of the BMWs of Phoenix and Hussa might be having a little bit of battle through the Michael Schumacher curves, as looks like, oh no, that's Pollux into the wall. That is Pollux out of this Grand Prix, I might presume. No, he's been able to keep that clutch in and keep the car going. We've been running for just over a minute now onto the race track, and it looks like Pollux might be under attack by FSU, who also spun as we move back up to the field. Everyone looks very slow through the main section of the track there, but Allo Champ's up into P4, so getting the position done on Flyboy. Flip in that Nissan, just under a second down on Cashnet. Cashnet might be able to run away with this, but I'm presuming that he might have got a bit of a jump start there. Look very quick off the line. Maybe he just got the clutch right, but what a absolutely hectic Grand Prix here on lap 1. Now moving on to lap 2, the fastest lap so far being a 2:02. 2, so yeah, Cashnet not necessarily on the pace. No, he's round. That's Cashnet round, and that is Ferrelli up into first place. That is absolutely detrimental for the championship, with Cashnet not able to come back onto the circuit yet, and it looked like maybe he's had a bit of a problem with the car as they waved yellow flags momentarily there, and Cashnet down into P9. That's one of the BMWs off of, I believe, is Phoenix, who maybe had a little bit of contact, has to wait for all the other cars to go through before he can jump back onto the racetrack. That's Matt and Pollux into the pit lane. We follow here with Vectro, but back to Cashnet, who I think just got too early on the traction and he'll be kicking himself in the rear end. And no, that's one of the Nissans of I believe that's Hussa. No, that is everyone spinning off the track of Hussa, who has to come back onto the track now. What an absolutely hectic Grand Prix it's been here, and it's only lap 2, and that's Phoenix going off in the background. Everyone's spinning. Just please get some traction, as I hear a little sniffle from Hio in the background, who's absolutely, I believe, laughing in the background with this championship. But Cashnet's going to go out around the outside of Pete, who's not able to get it exactly right through the Schumacher XS's. Oh, Hio, mate, what do you think of that start?
Yeah, I don't know what to say. As I just played the replay of Cashnet's spin, you rarely see him spin, but if he spins, it's usually early in the race when he's not yet in the mood. It seems so. It was like, I think at Road America or something like that, and then it really destroys this race. At the moment he is in P6 because a lot of other guys also spun, so nothing is really destroyed. As I see some warning here. But yeah, the race is flipped upside down. Flip is now really on the rear of Ferrelli, and he's really closing the gap after the first laps. So there might be some overtakings, or at least attempts going on quite soon. Alochamps is, like usually, he's keeping out of trouble and already in P3. He was not on the top at qualifying, but in the race different kind of things matter, because you have to really know how to race or how to get through a course without any damage for the first laps. So he did that. He's in P3, and Cashnet, we might see some coming back as they already overtake the first lap car of probably Vectro.
No, that was Matt, I believe, who ran a little bit wide, but I guess he just had to get out of the way as he came in for a pit stop. Looked like they may or may not have fixed that damage, but that front end still looks very wide, as he definitely does go wide, so maybe just getting ready on the cold tyres. Sorry to interrupt you there, Hio, but yeah, looks like everyone relatively tame around this circuit, and I think that's someone who's left. We're now down to 12 runners, so yeah, it's very interesting Grand Prix so far, with Cashnet still out in front. Mayo, an amazing move up from P11 to P5 now. Got Cashnet on his absolute rear end, so Flyboy, ooh, as I think that's someone in the pit lane. I'm not sure who. I think that's Matt back in the pit lane. May have had another incident with the wall there, so it's going to be a double pit stop for Matt now. And it looks like in the background there, Mayo and Cashnet, Mayo defending for his absolute life here. As you remember, we do start at 7 PM here in the Nurburgring, so it's going to start to turn quite dark. And remember, that rain is coming, and we can't forget about the rain for right now. With all the action I know that's happened, it might be a bit difficult to forget some things, but yes, definitely. It's now starting to play into the hands of the man of Pirelli, who might be able to bring out an early lead. It's just over a 1.5 second gap to Flip Flip, but I think Flip Flip might be able to gain that position back. It looks like Cashnet and Mayo just going absolute hammer and tong here. With me just sorting out some cameras. There you go, Cashnet right on the rear end there of Mayo, who's that Ferrari driver is going to be making the rear end of that car so wide, and it looks like Cashnet might have pushed the Ferrari a little bit wide there, having a little bit of contact to the rear end. That could be some damage to Cashnet's car, so it's going to be very controversial now. That might go to the stewards, but we can only hope really that that it doesn't go too far to the stewards. We've been running for just over 7 minutes and 40 seconds now with the drivers here on lap 4, lapping it around about 1 minute 48 being the fastest lap so far. Pollock's been able to set a good lap as well. He came in for a pit stop. Ooh, I thought someone nearly spun there. It looked like it, but Cashnet's definitely going to go for the move here into turn 15 and turn 14 and 15. But Mayo, I think, just left the position there. Maybe had a little bit of a lock up and ran wide, so it's definitely a bit difficult for Mayo maybe to kick that Audi behind him with the pace that Cashnet does hold. And the next in front of him is that BMW of Flyboy with FFU just behind him. Excuse me, just behind him in the Porsche. Let's hope that Cashnet does not spin at turn 1 once again. Yeah, the number 4 driver definitely maybe struggling with a little bit of traction. Maybe could have overheated those rear tires as well, or maybe just did not have the downforce or the traction whatsoever to get around the first corner there on lap 3, I believe, or it was lap 2. We're now sitting happy on lap 5. We should probably move back up to the leaders, but Cashnet absolutely catching Flyboy by an extensive amount. Speaking of catching people, it looks like maybe Flip Flip has backed off a little bit, but still catching. Excuse me, still catching relatively quickly. With Pirelli there sitting out the other Audi driver. They're still sitting out happy in P1, started P3, so he's definitely moved up the field quite a amount. So it's definitely now time to think about strategy and how the drivers are going to start driving these cars, as Cashnet is got some sort of penalty, I believe. Hasn't turned his lights on yet, as Flyboy has. He's not worrying about his lights. He just wants to see in these sunset conditions. It's actually quite romantic. But definitely nothing romantic about racing. It's all motorheads all the time, and you just got to be so fast all the time whatsoever. So definitely Cashnet maybe struggling with this last turn there. He went out a little wide, but got the apex kind of nice. But he's definitely got the run of Flyboy, who doesn't look like he belongs there. Who's, I think he just flashed his lights. But here on lap 6 of the Grand Prix, chugging through these laps quite quickly. I can definitely tell you when there's action, the laps just go past, as Cashnet's pulled out a 3-second gap on Mayo in just 2 seconds. It's just 2 laps. as it looks like Cashnet went up the inside a bit. They're going to be side by side, and maybe Flyboy might have the position to get back here. Maybe a little bit of a dive down into turn 6. No, he doesn't look for it, and that's Cashnet now back up into P4. The next man is Allo Champs, but he's a solid 4 to 5 seconds in front of Cashnet in that Porsche. And I can tell you what, Allo Champs won't give up a position whatsoever in a race. He's all strategy, he's all tires, he's all pace, and that is definitely something that Allo Champs is going to be able to do, the young Swede, with Cashnet following behind relatively quickly. But Allo Champs, I think in this early stage, will just be saving his tires, waiting out until, waiting out until the rain period, which should come around lap 13 or so. So around about 7 to 8 laps before those times will start to come in. Meanwhile, I forgot to do this before. I'll throw up the speedo so you can see on how much fuel each driver's going to be holding. I think they might start to fill up fuel, and I don't know if that was a streak of rain that I just saw on my screen, or it was some sort of flash. I think that might be rain, because I'm seeing it over and over again. So maybe could this rain be coming earlier than we predicted? Let's jump on board. Doesn't look like there's much rain coming down. I don't know, we can head into the cockpit. Sounds like there's rain, but I don't know if you will be able to hear that. And I think that is rain, which is coming down here on lap 7, so I might have commentated cursed it, but definitely a wet track, dry tires, and the slick tires are definitely going to be starting to lose grip, like the V8 supercars in Queensland a couple of years ago on dry tires and a soaked track. So I don't know if we'll see that again. There's still a lot of laps to play for in this Grand Prix. So yeah, it's definitely raining. Allo Champs has turned on his windscreen wiper, so he's definitely starting to struggle with these conditions maybe a little bit. It's the Audi driver of Cashnet going to be looking to get that position done before the pit stops, and now it'll rely, now it'll rely on if Cashnet is able to make something up in the pit lane, maybe not even filling up on fuel, maybe running it quite lean again. But remember, it's going to go wet to dry to wet to wet to dry. A little bit contradicting saying that. But yes, it's Cashnet who just keeps just under a second down on Allo Champs now. So it's definitely starting to heat up during this Grand Prix. Definitely starting to make the drivers feel a little bit tense. And it's now the question is if Cashnet will be able to make the moves before the pit stops on Allo Champs to get back up to his original position of P3. And then start fighting for position from Flip and Ferrari. But you got to remember, Allo Champs 14 seconds away from the teammate of Ferrari and the other Audi, who looks to be struggling a little bit. We're going to move from this little battle that they're having here. Allo Champs and Flyboy, the only men to turn on their lights just yet. And that looks like a little bit of a lockup for Cashnet. Please don't spin again. That's very good. So as we head back through the field, there's Mayo, there's FSU with Vectro all behind him. I think Vectro is trying to get some sort of heat in the tyres. I don't think it's impacting on his speed too much, but yeah, he's definitely trying to get some sort of temperature in those front tyres. Maybe that Lamborghini struggling with those front tyres. Looks like there might be a bit of bodywork damage. Vectro's car, obviously we saw him fly up into the air. Pete, a silent achiever there in P9 once again, maybe struggling with the wet conditions, but now you got to think, who's that driver that's at the back of the field that might try to do something? It could be this man Pollux, the British man in the Renault, could maybe pull something out and do something here on the racetrack, or it could be Matt. I thought Pollux nearly spun there, or it could be Matt and the other Lamborghini. But we move back to Cashnet fighting with Allo Champs. It's just under a tenth or maybe 3/10 of a second between the two. So yes, it's definitely very interesting around this Grand Prix circuit, and if Cashnet will be able to get around the outside or inside of Allo Champs there. Sorry, I keep yawning, but definitely this rain's starting to come down as I think we'll head on to the inside camera of Cashnet just to see what it looks like from the driver's perspective. And it's definitely he's definitely running some maybe air ducts quite close, because look at the temperature of his engine, it's absolutely cooked. But obviously not running mechanical damage, so he won't start to get damage on his engine. That's now Cashnet into the pit lane here, and this could be our first driver coming into the pit lane for a set of wet tyres. Hero, do you reckon it's too early to set the wet tyres, or do you reckon it's just the right time?
I think it's too early. Honestly, the lap times the drivers are setting are still below 2-minute mark here, and so I talked to some drivers and they expect like 2-minute 10 to 2-minute 14 for the rain, when the rain is really starting. So I guess when Cashnet is coming out again, oh, it was a drive-through penalty actually. So like we expected at the race start, that he pulled away a bit too early. That was just a drive-through penalty. Then everything is fine. I think it would be too early actually to pit now, because I think you should pit when the times are really dropping, like 2 minutes 6 at least.
Yeah. Definitely, it doesn't look like the conditions are too bad. A little bit of streaks of rain on the front windscreen of LA Champs' car and along the side windscreen. Yeah, it's definitely making the drivers have a little bit of a skate on the track. But yeah, LA Champs seems to be doing well with it. That's Cashnet, who's now moved down to P8 with a bunch of cars in front of him. So now we've got to think, will those other cars be thinking that Cashnet has gone onto a wet set of tyres and could trigger other drivers to go onto a wet set of tyres? Obviously, he did not go into a wet set of tyres. He just had a drive-through penalty, and it's questionable why he served it now. Maybe if he didn't serve it when he wanted to come into the pit lane for wet tyres, he could have gone through a drive-through, and that could have cost him millions of times.
I guess it was quite perfect.
Yeah, he's now catching.
I guess it was quite perfect to do it now, because he was stuck behind other champs, who is a fast driver and not so easy to overtake. And now he got basically in the middle of the pack, sure, but in a few laps they all will go to the pits, so overtaking is a bit easier with some undercuts, overcuts or whatever. So I think it's quite a right time to do this drive-through penalty before the rain and just.
Yeah, I'd probably have to agree from a commentator and a racer's perspective. Here on lap 10 of the Grand Prix, only 24 laps to go here, so we should see about, I reckon about another 40 minutes of racing or so. Maybe with the rain interfering, we could see around about 2-minute 16 lap times, maybe 2-minute 12 lap times. But Hussar is having some sort of problem, as I've been aware of, as he's catching up to Pete, I believe, in that other Nissan Nismo. And Pete in the Cadillac, I don't want Pete to be stolen from P9, but Hussar might be able to make that position on Pete. Ooh, no, he's not, because he had a little bit of a four-wheel drift there. We move back to Cashnet now. He's started to close up to the Lamborghini of Vector, who I think pitted, but wasn't able to get the right start that he wanted to, I believe. I think he started in P4, maybe it was P5. But yeah, it's definitely a very interesting Grand Prix from our perspective right now. We've been running for just over 20 minutes now, and the drivers will start to be having a little bit of struggling time. They should be on provisionally the soft compounded tyres, as Cashnet got round the outside of Vectro there, who looked like to just let him through, but I don't know if it was much of a fight. I was looking down at my little handheld device, but Cashnet definitely able to get round the outside of Vectro quite easily. Next up will be the other Porsche driver of FSS, always a difficult name to say. It's coming through the Coca-Cola curves out of turn 15 into 16. And that is Mayo into the pit lane. I wonder, this might be for wet tyres, but like I said before, could be another drive-through. No, I think it's going to be for wet tyres. Yep, that's his pit crew out there. And I think that either could be another set of slicks or it could be wet tyres. Don't know just yet. Or it could even be damage. It's overtaken now by Pete. I think it'll be Husser as well. So yeah, I think that's very interesting. I don't know if he is on the wet tyres. Maybe it looks like he's on the wet tyres. I don't know. If I got a bit of a better camera view, might have been able to tell you. But FSU having maybe a little bit of a spin there in the meantime, and Cashnet's just been able to overtake him. I don't think FSU knows that he's actually fighting position. This might have been a little bit of a interesting one, but it looks like everyone's just letting through Cashnet, so maybe they're just realizing that he is the faster driver and they don't necessarily want to hold him up. So yeah, very interesting. Now that gives hands to Vectro to get past FSU in that Porsche. Vectro ran wide there and got some gravel on the tires that won't help him in these slippery wet conditions. Everyone taking a little bit of an interesting line as Vectro maybe locked a brake there and didn't get quite an interesting line, but definitely starting to play into Cashnet's hand, who's only down the board by a little bit. Now started P3, then spun, went down to P10, moved back up to P3, then had a drive through, then went back down to P8, and now he's up to P5. So he'll definitely want to be moving up positions. Looks like Vectro has a little bit of side damage to his car, maybe the under tray and the diffuser. I meant, but he's all over the rear end of it. Looks like FSU in that Porsche. So from the commentary box, looks like they might be able to make the move down to turn 1. Looks like it. No, it's not. He did look very optimistic on the inside there. Took the optimal racing line and then just didn't get the exit as easily as he wanted. I've got no more tea left in my cup, so I'm all out now. But drivers, I'm thinking, probably would have tuned their setup towards the rain. That's why they're probably so competitive in these mixable conditions now. But I'm thinking, is this rain going to actually get any heavier? So we don't really know for now. But yeah, it's definitely very interesting. Heo, do you think this rain might get any heavier, or do you think it might just stay like this?
I think the rain will start increasing, or it already started increasing, but it will get heavier a bit. So the conditions will be light rain, but light rain is a very broad word. It is already quite heavy rain, but the track is not really wet yet, because the tarmac can soak quite a lot of water until you get some puddles created. So at the moment the lap times actually are still really fast, at least in the front, so still below 2 minutes for the top two, and Cashnet. So they will drop a bit and we will see the pit stops, I think, next lap and the laps afterwards.
Yeah, I'd probably have to agree with you there. With the current times that the drivers are setting, that's FSU into the pit lane now. So yeah, that's FSU into the pit lane now. So will he go for a set of the wet tyres? Yeah, this is a lottery at this stage where the drivers will go for the wet tyres or won't go for the wet tyres. But maybe he's got some damage to fix. Maybe no, he's good on fuel for now. Here on lap 12, so only.
Yeah, I think everybody who pits now will go for the wet tires. There's no real sense in going for slick tires now, because you have to go in like two laps afterwards. So I think everybody will get to the wet tires now.
I think everyone will be going for the wet tyres, but the conditions that they're in, I don't know. We'll take a look once again on board with FSU. Yeah, those conditions are getting quite heavy. Might be a call for the wet tyres, will be a call for the wet tyres. And that's Cashnet kind of been released out now, and practically been set the monkey gone wild. And yeah, it's it's kind of, I think he's starting to push a little bit, realizing the position that he's in with 37 seconds down on his teammate. This could be an easy Pirelli win, with Flip trailing behind by just maybe 2 seconds or so, since the timing sheet isn't necessarily exactly accurate. But yeah, it looks like everyone's it's kind of being quite tame in these conditions, and we're going to start to wonder, will people come in for the wet tyres? I'd say they definitely would, as the conditions start to get a little darker, start to get a little wetter, and that is Allo Champs into the pit lane. And will he come out in front of Cashnet, who's around about 8 seconds or so behind? He can get a good pit stop. I think he might be able to come out. That's Flyboy now into the pit lane, so will Cashnet recognise that he might come into the pit lane? Cashnet does not, so Cashnet moves up to P3 now, overtaking the 2. So that's Allo Champs into the pit lane. Will Vectro, I'm wondering, be able to come out here, and Flip moves down the order. Obviously, Allo Champs having the last pit lane in the grid, so I'm going to try and see what tyres he's going for. I'm presuming it's going to be the wets. Yeah, those are the wet tyres. They've definitely got tread on them. We couldn't see that before, but yes, that's definitely got tread on them. And god damn, look how greasy that track is. That is it's an absolute grease monkey. Allo Champs is out of the pit lane in P5. Huss is now into the pit lane, coming in. So everyone's in, out, and Allo Champs looks like to be the man to get the best pit stop there, only behind Vectro by about 20 seconds or so. So it looks like it's about a 40-second pit stop or so, judging from the timings there. It's, yeah, here on lap 14, the laps are starting to move away. 20 laps to go or so for the drivers. Husser is in the pit lane. I'm going to presume for another set of the wet tyres, not another set, but a set of the wet tyres. Running here for 28 minutes into the race now, so everyone's starting to get their endurance type of mindset in, and definitely the mindset of pushing in wet and unpredictable conditions. You never know where puddles are going to start to form, especially at the below the Michael Schumacher S's. That's Husser out of the pit lane now. Pollux moves up to P10. Matt still down by a absolute country mile. 3 minutes or so. But will Pirelli now make the decision to come into the pit lane, be the first of the real front runners, besides Allo Champs, to come into the pit lane? He's past the start-finish line, so I'm presuming that Flip will follow him into the pit lane and try and maybe get the jump on him if Pirelli fills up a bit more on fuel, or has any damage to fix. I don't believe that Pirelli's been in any sort of predicaments throughout this whole Grand Prix. So yeah, it's definitely a very interesting one at this stage. That's Mayo having some sort of problem there, maybe with SSU. I don't think Mayo's come in for a pit stop just yet onto the wet compound of tyres, but looks like he's still doing well there on the slicks.
Mayo was actually the first
FSU.
one. So Mayo was
the first one.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
And he is doing lap times with 2 minutes and 6 seconds. So he's not faster than like 6 seconds or more slower than Ferrari and Flip. So I guess it's still that the slick tire is at the very moment, is still a bit better than the rain tire. Yet is.
Yeah, but at this stage you got to start to think, is the slick tire losing your grip, or is it just giving you the utmost performance, not necessarily the best amount of traction? If it was me, I'd be going on, and that's Pirelli into the pit lane at this stage. Will he be held up by I think that was Pete into the pit lane? Flip follows him in. Will this be Cashnet coming in for a pit stop as well? I think that's Cashnet continuing, or is that Pollux in the background? I think that's Pollux. As Pete's coming out of the pit lane now, so he should be alright, shouldn't be held up. Pirelli, the first pit stop, first pit position, pit position to head in at the start. And will Pirelli come out in P1 there, gets all the tyres fitted, and gets the utmost amount of grip onto that front of that Audi and the rear. He's come out in front of Flip, but has Flip been able to gain anything? Will Cashnet's come into the pit lane now. who's started to kick up some water. So definitely unpredictable conditions now. Vectro is coming into the pit lane as well. Everyone's just trailing into the pit lane. So Allo Champs, I'm presuming, if he's had a good outlap and good couple of laps from, I think he pitted on lap 13, will he be able to jump Cashnet and Vectro? This will be the big decision now. I think that's, yeah, the final couple of corners. So, yeah, Coca-Cola Curve now, turn 16. It will be the decider. I think he'll be able to come out in front of, that's the end of the pit lane there, just in front of Cashnet. So, Allo Champs will be the man to come out in front of these two. I believe, yep, doesn't look like anyone's been able to pass him. Will Cashnet be able to get out in time? Nope, that's Allo Champs in front of Cashnet, but you got to remember that Allo Champs will have a little bit more wear on those wet compounded tyres. His lights are turned on. He's ready to go racing. He says, boys, come at me. I've got the wet compounded tyres on. I've got the, theoretically, the most stable car on the grid. Beside his teammate of FSU, excuse me, as Vectro also exits out of the pit lane there as well. And it looks like Mayo and FSU might have a bit of a battle here in the coming stages of the Grand Prix. So we should see some drivers to start to get a little bit competitive, start to get a little bit of action. Pollux into the pit lane, who I believe was still on those slick compound tyres. I think he was on the softs. Long way to take softs into lap 15. I don't know if wear was too bad, but we move back to Flyboy, who's not necessarily been able to get the best out of his position. Cashnet up into P4 now, with Allo Champs sitting happy in P3. And I thought I was drying up for a second there. I saw no rain on my screen. But Hio, do you reckon this is a good strategic play by all the drivers going, do you reckon we will see dry conditions by the end of the Grand Prix, or will the drivers just stick it out on a wet compound of tyres, not wasting another pit stop, or will we maybe just see wet conditions for the whole rest of the Grand Prix? What do you think here?
I think we will see some drying conditions at the end of the race, but I don't think we will see, at least for the top runners, another pit stop from them. They will just stick to the wet compounds, and they will heat up probably in the last few laps, but another pit stop will cost them too much to compensate, or there's no time left or no laps left to compensate for the pit stop in the end of the race. So I think they will just yeah, get this wet compound for the end of the race. With the coming night, it will also be a bit colder than it is now. So I don't think it's much of a problem with the wet compounds. They're very soft, of course, the tires, so they heat up quite easily. But I think they should get to the end with them. For the pit stop strategy, I think the top two, or also Vectro and Cashnet, did it perfectly. They waited a bit longer than you might expect. You have to wait, but actually it's so the soft tires are getting slippery, but they are still faster than the wet compounds. And if you have your car stable, so you are not really losing grip that much that you spin out, I think it's the best decision to stay out a bit longer than you might expect, because for example, Allo Champs is now doing lap times with 2 minutes 7 seconds, and before the top runners were doing still in 2-minute range with the soft compounds.
Yeah, so it's definitely an interesting strategy play for most of the drivers here. We'll definitely see some of them start to thinking about dry conditions once again. We're only on lap 17 now, so 3 laps away from lap 20. Pollux is in the pit lane again. So has he had a spin? Has he had a crash or something that we don't really know about? Still sitting happy with 12 runners. That track looks so wet. It looks very difficult for the drivers to be managing. Looks like there's a little bit of a dry line on the track as he closes up to Allo Champs. Cashnet does very quickly, and Cashnet will probably not be able to get around the outside of Allo Champs here. Allo Champs, once again, as I said, on around about lap 3, 3 to 8, he was very difficult to get past. It looks like the drivers are braking about. Oh, there's a big puddle at turn 1. And there might have been some contact that we didn't know about there, or just Cashnut losing the rear end once again. And like we were speaking about, looks like traction is one of the worst problems around this circuit. Definitely in wet conditions, it's going to be worse traction. And if it was me, I'd be the one to stick it out on the wet compounder tyres till the end of the Grand Prix. If the conditions stay till around about, I don't know, around about lap 26, I think that's the perfect times for it to start to get dry. But if it doesn't, if the rain starts to clear up around about lap 22 or so, which is only 4 laps away from now, we might see a switch to the dry compounder tyres. And like Heo was saying, Allo Champ's got a very stable car, and definitely got a very stable way to get the car around corners and keep traction. Especially for me here, a little bit trying to stay awake during this race. It's a little bit boring on the mid part, but it looks like it's going to start to get spicy as Cashnut right up the rear end of Allo Champs into, I think this is turn 10, I think. And yeah, Cashnut's gone right around the outside. Allo Champs will have the outside once again. Cashnut up the inside now. Allo Champs, never seen him give up a position like that. Might try it down into turn 14. Look at the spray that's been kicked up by Cashnut's car. And will Allo Champs try the dive here? And no, it didn't look like he was gonna. He definitely had the optimism to try and do it, but maybe he's thinking that things are starting to get a little bit too difficult for him. But with that, it comes to a racing mind that you got to be 100% focused. You got to be vigilant, and you definitely have to be able to outperform your teammates and even your rivals, like Allo Champs is trying to do here. Broke a little bit later than Cashnut, so maybe Cashnut's still scared of turn 1 with when he was spinning. We're about 40 minutes into this Grand Prix, so predicted time around about 30 minutes more. And yeah, everyone looks like to be relatively stable in this Grand Prix as Pete. We haven't been spoken much about Pete and his Cadillac. Heo, is the Cadillac a stable car, or it looks very stable, seeing it looks like a bit like a Bentley? But do you reckon it's a stable car, or is it a bit loose and a bit kind of like a boat?
Actually, I don't know. I never drove the Cadillac. It doesn't seem to me like the best choice of cars. But they took it, they liked it, so they probably thought something behind it. Yeah, they have now to stick with it. I think it's faster than expected. I don't know if any other driver took this car yet before. But yeah, it's a nice car. It's nice to have this variety in the GT3 championship. With really different cars, also different than last year. Last year we had some AMGs, we had the McLaren, we had different cars, and now we have the Cadillac. It's nice to see this car, but I actually don't know how to drive this one.
I'd probably have to agree with you there. I don't think I've ever driven the Cadillac in Project Cars. Maybe after this, might do a couple of laps around the Nurburgring circuit. And do a couple of laps in the Cadillac. Obviously, I should probably mention, we were talking about this in practice, tomorrow night, I believe, I think it might be an endurance race. I'll be commentating a bit on that, so make sure you catch that one as well. But we're at the Nurburgring GP circuit in the GT3 Superclass, so we've got to keep focused on this. Can't lose what we were talking about. But definitely the drivers will start to think about what's going on with the weather, and obviously they really have no engineer, so they can't really ask him too much about the weather, like most video games. But however, sim games. However, they will be informed if if the weather conditions start to change, and yeah, that's probably the big question now. What will the weather be doing? Obviously, on the predicted race calendar that we read as commentators, we take it a week before the actual Grand Prix here. Sorry, not the actual Grand Prix here, our Sim Grand Prix here, and we take the weather a week before that. I worded that very weirdly. But yeah, we saw that, I was talking to Heo in the practice session. He said that it wasn't terribly great weather in Germany. It's a little bit of a shame to see. But yeah, it's definitely maybe going to start to dry up at the end, and it looks like that Nissan in the background of Husa maybe having a little bit of a problem, maybe just struggling a bit with traction and trying to get the rear end down. But yeah, everyone looks to be very well maintained and very consistent around this track, seeing the fastest lap set by Ferrelli the front. I keep selecting that I want to quit, but I don't. Ferrelli looking up the front here on lap 21, looking very competitive now. This is when I said that it was going to start to dry up. Doesn't look like it's starting to dry up whatsoever, so my prediction was wrong once again. But yeah, definitely that Ferrelli is starting to pull a bit of a gap to Flip. And do you reckon, Heo, that's just outright pace, or is it a way for the car, for the driver, Ferrelli, who's arguably probably the quickest man on circuit right now, to set these lap times and pull out an amazing 21-second gap?
Yeah, he seems to be very confident here in the rain, and actually I have to say you might be right with the trying, because it seems like the rain is starting to get a bit lighter, and also in the background you might see that the weather is actually lightening up, so you can see some clouds still, of course, but it's lightening up, so yeah, the track is still wet, and I don't know how fast it will dry up, but the rain should decrease a bit, as we see that in this section of the track the rain is a bit more than in other sections, it seems. But yeah, that's track, I don't know how the system is called in Project Cars, so different parts of the track can dry earlier than other parts, but we see some yeah, lighter heaven in the background here, so might be interesting.
Yeah, definitely interesting. When isn't the GT3 GAVRA Racing Super Championship interesting? At all times it's interesting. But yes, we definitely will see the track starting to dry up, as you can see there on the horizon. The sun just peeking through the clouds. Still quite heavy clouds here on board with Ferrelli, but it doesn't look like 7 PM at night. It looks like at about 4 PM at night during the winter. So yeah, it's definitely interesting for Ferrelli here now, and it looks like there's a bit of a puddle on the apex of that corner. Same with that one. So yes, these puddles are definitely going to start to clear up as the cars start to go over them, but it looks like there's a bit of a wet dry line starting to form on the racetrack here. Everyone, I said that I wanted to be bunched up at the start, but yeah, it's definitely started to spread out a bit, with the closest person really being 23 seconds behind Ferrelli here on lap 22 of the Grand Prix. So it's definitely a difficulty, as you can see Ferrelli taking a very wide line through those corners, especially into, I think that's, I can't remember what corner that is. I think it's Dunlop Curve, and yeah, that was turn 8, excuse me. Now through the Michael Schumacher section, and coming into turn 11. This corner looked like a bit of a interesting one in qualifying and practice, but throughout the Grand Prix it's started to get a little bit more familiar to most of the drivers, and it's definitely started to interest me and probably my fellow my fellow commentators here. Obviously, I should probably mention just the two of us, Heo and I. Unfortunately, we weren't joined by Harry Buddha, also known as David, or our man Jordan, also known as JPH. So yeah, we were unable to be joined by them. But however, they were off doing. I think I probably won't mention what they're doing without their consent. But however, they weren't able to join us tonight. Sorry, this morning for me, tonight for them. But yes, it's definitely starting to heat up with the Grand Prix now. Only 10 laps to go, so the drivers will definitely start to push the conditions and start to push the cars a bit harder. Pirelli definitely starting to push a bit harder. Flip wanting to push a lot harder. It's 10 laps to close, 27 seconds down on arguably the quickest driver on the track. It's going to be an interesting one. Cashnet setting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far. Allo Champ's down there in P4. He'll be not very happy with his 4th place. He was sitting happy in P3, but now it's just over a 10-second gap to Cashnet. So it's very interesting for Allo Champs to have that problem. Flyboy in the Shell BMW M3 GT3 car, doing very well at this Grand Prix circuit so far. Looks like there's a bit of a puddle on the apex of 13 there, and definitely up into this chicane there might be a couple of puddles, so aquaplaning will be a little bit of a problem here. As you can see, the tyres doesn't look like they're too bad so far, but yeah, everyone being quite calm, collective, and obviously stable throughout this Grand Prix. I should probably move down the field a little bit as we take a look. No, Pete's nowhere near him. However, Mayo and FSU being very close to each other. The Ferrari and the Porsche cars being very, very close to one another. Definitely, especially with their lights. With FSU running his lights, so definitely might have a little bit of a flash at Mayo. Mayo obviously hasn't got his lights on, which is a little bit interesting. I don't know if there's a penalty that goes with that, but yeah, it's definitely interesting so far. Excuse me. Yeah, it's definitely interesting so far as everyone looks to be trying to push the car as much as possible. And trying to eke out the most amount of performance they can. These two, they probably just can't get away from each other and try and move away. But yeah, it's very interesting. Matt's now coming to the pit lane. Looks like he's bonked one of his headlights there. So really interesting to see Matt having so many crashes in one race. But I don't know if it's a good thing for Matt to have crashes all in one race and separated as parts of races, but he's been in P12 the whole time, so he's definitely been having some sort of problem with the car. So yeah, it's definitely very, very interesting for the drivers at this stage. And yeah, Matt goes on to another set of the wet compounded tyres, or maybe could go for the strategy of putting the softs on, but I think it's just a bit too early to go into the softs. So yeah, it's very, very interesting so far, as it looks like Cashnet might be closing up to Flip at an alarming rate. So Flip will defend this position for his life. 10 laps to go now, 9 laps to go now, and the drivers will definitely want to be getting positions done and dusted as soon as possible. Cashnet might head up the inside here. No, he didn't. He thought better of it. No, he's going to go up the inside. Flip gives him a bit of a tap and a hee-ho to say, hang on a minute, you can't take the position just yet. But it looks like Cashnet's got the position done. I think Flip's going to come back here with a little bit of a dive. He looked like to go to the inside or outside of the track. No, he's back on the inside. So yeah, it's definitely very interesting to see there. And at this stage, looks like Cashnet's maybe being a little bit of a prick here, but you never know, really. And just kind of barging his way through. But then again, you've got to think about the other drivers who might make mistakes. And from our perspective, we're just seeing it from a camera, they're seeing it from their helmet. So, yeah, it's kind of playing for life. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. Sorry, I'm making a post on Twitter about this race. Go follow me on Twitter, by the way. Little link. But yeah, it's very very interesting right now, Grand Prix wise, cashing it up into P2, so he's behind his teammate by nearly 40 seconds or so, but he's going to be closing that very quickly. And I think cashing it might be on the freshest tyres in the whole grid, besides Matt, who's obviously down there in P12 by an absolute long way, 6 minutes down, which is around about 2 laps, 3 laps or so. So yeah, that's really interesting and quite depressing for the Lamborghini driver. But yeah, everyone being calm, collective. Once again, I'm going to use that phrase, but as we come into lap 25 now, Pirelli obviously on lap 25, lapping there. It looks like Allo Champs, or is that FSU with the with Mayo? Yep, that's FSU. Who looks like to still be in front of Mayo, or was Mayo in front of him? I think he got in front of Mayo, which is yeah, very, very interesting. Here, I have no idea really what to talk about at this stage. Do we see a driver pit for the new dry tyres, or do we see a driver stay for the wet competitor tyres? At this stage, I think it's got to be the wets, right?
Yeah, I think the wets are the best choice, but if you want to risk something, might be worth a chance to just speculate a bit and go for the dry compounds, but not now, but in like a few laps, because the lap times are really high still. So I think unless we go down in the 2 and then single digit numbers, 2 minute and single digit second numbers, then we might see some changes, but we won't see them if it's happening like in more than 3 or 4 laps, as we see FFS going into the wall. That doesn't look good. So he has to go to the pits, I guess, or he just might finish the race with this damage. Another thing which might get it interesting is Flip and Allo Champs. So the fight for the last podium place, because Allo Champs is lapping compared to Flip really fast, with a 2:14 for Allo Champs and a 2:20 for Flip. And the lap before, Flip did a 2:25, if I recall it correctly. So he's really struggling at the moment, Flip. So there might be a chance for Allo Champs to get the podium position, actually.
Yeah, I think there might be a chance for Allo Champs, and that is his teammate counterpart of Flip coming coming off the track there to let him through, I presume, or maybe he had a bit of a spin like FSS. Both the teammates going off the track there of the Nissan and the Porsche. But it looks like these two are getting very competitive, with only about 5 seconds between the two, maybe 6 seconds. And with around about 9 laps or so to go, looks like, excuse me, Allo Champs might be able to catch Flip if he's struggling in these conditions. But you never know, his teammate might be able to make the strategy game. Nearly 55 minutes in now, on the Grand Prix timer that I'm running here now. So yeah, definitely very interesting for the driver. It's started to get a bit like a long race, especially around the Nurburgring. Matt's into the pits once again. I don't know why. Maybe more damage, or maybe just, I don't know what Matt's doing. We'll take a quick look, and that is his bonnet gone. So he's definitely made a collision once again. So we don't really know just yet. Heading back to Allo Champs. Actually, no, we're going to head to FSU, because just take a look at the front of that Porsche. That car is done for. From my standpoint, it is not necessarily in the best of forms, and if it was to dry up, I think I'd be coming in for the pits and to fix all that damage that I have, especially because I think he might be having some handling issues there in that Porsche. But however, Allo Champs still trying to catch as quickly as possible to Flip, and I think his teammate did let him through. So he's Flip's definitely lost a little bit of time. Definitely lost quite a lot of time. But yeah, it's definitely very interesting at this stage in the Grand Prix, for all the drivers to be so close together and so bunched up. especially in the middle part of this Grand Prix. If it was to be that, I think we'd see a lot more spinnings, but yeah, it's definitely very interesting at this Grand Prix as of now, with all the drivers trying to push, I guess, as consecutively and consistently as possible here on lap 27 of the Grand Prix with the leading lap. But yeah, every driver still looks like that weather's starting to calm down a little bit. It'd be good if we did have an intermediate set of tyres here on the racetrack, but however we're running the full wets. So yeah, Flip looking on his on board. The track still looks quite greasy, but there's definitely a dry line there. And the sun's starting to go down, the darkness is starting to roll in, and the experience is starting to roll out, and we're going to see who's going to be the fastest driver to race around this circuit at this moment. But yeah, it's definitely very interesting at this stage for the drivers to start to have a bit of a problem around this circuit, as Flip still looks to be struggling, with Allo Champs only 4 seconds behind now, as I mean Allo Champs heads wide there. Not necessarily the best line he could have taken through that corner, but yeah, he's definitely using some high gears than every other driver. I can tell you that much, as everyone looks like to be still trying to push the cars as much as possible, especially Allo Champs, who, as Heo said, will be trying to push for that final podium position there for P3. Sun's definitely going down now, and it looks like it might have slowed down and raining, so like I said, maybe lap 30 or so, we could see some drivers maybe trying to push as hard as possible, and maybe trying to get through. But yeah, it's definitely very interesting at this stage of the Grand Prix, especially within strategy, and at this stage maybe just race pace. Meanwhile, 34 seconds in front of us is Ferrelli from Cashnet, who's came from amazing lower down grid position on the cars. But yeah, it's relatively quite interesting at this stage of a Grand Prix driver's mind, and if you start to think about strategy and things like that, it's definitely going to be interesting. I don't think we will see another person come in for the slick compounded tyres, except for maybe someone down the grid like FSU, who has a little bit of damage to his car, maybe even Vectro or even Mayo, but I think Matt would definitely be maybe going for the slick compound of tyres if he was that far down. It's definitely stopped raining, or not stopped raining, but cooled down from raining. Ferrelli running a little bit wide, but he's got such a big lead that he's able to do that a little bit, as long as it doesn't resolve in quite a big ordeal. We'll bring up the timing so far. So it looks like Flyboy has a 10-second time penalty so far. Looking down the grid a little bit. So yeah, it looks like everyone's being quite tame so far. Yeah, it's quite interesting now, with gaps being quite big from each driver. The best lap being a 1:57, and that was in the dry conditions. So yeah, it's definitely very interesting for the drivers so far. But everyone looks quite tame once again. That weather's definitely stopped now. Spray still being kicked up, still a greasy track, however. And it's definitely time for the drivers to start to think out as the sun rises here in Melbourne, Australia. But yes, as the sun sets here in the Nurburgring in Germany. Yes, everyone looks like to still be quite consistent, quite consecutive, but meanwhile, I should probably add that FSU, despite that damage, is caught back up to Mayo, who looks like might be struggling in these conditions. Mayo's finally turned his lights on, which is a positive, I guess. And FSU having a little bit of a lock up there. Mayo was sent wide. They're going to go side by side now, quite late in the Grand Prix to start to go side by side. but they're definitely gonna go hammer and tong here with FSU and Mayo. Mayo is still defending his position in that Ferrari, making it as wide as possible for FSU to maybe try and get that position past. Doesn't look like FSU is able to get the position. He's definitely got the run. I mean, look how much spray is being kicked up by that Ferrari 488 car. The Porsche GT3, 911 GT3 RS are able to cape with those huge increments amount of water. Should probably add that the Michelin compounded tyres can disperse 85 litres of water per second. So that's a lot, and FSU has gone straight to the back of, I believe that's Mayo, who is got back onto the track. That's going to be even more damage. I think FSU might have just locked up, or Mayo was slow into the first corner, but wow, that was not really the smartest thing to do from FSU. And I guess if he did lock up, like everything, you got to avoid it as quickly as possible, and try and get out of the way if you start to lock up as quickly as possible. But that was straight into the back of Mayo, and I kind of feel sorry for Mayo now, who's got more and more damage. And I think that's Pete starting to close up now. Is it? No, it's not. I think that might just be a lap car of Pirelli who's lapping FSU there. It's yeah, it's definitely extremely interesting at this stage to see. Hey, what was that crash about, do you reckon? Do you reckon that was just from straight, you know, just braking problems, or do you reckon that might have been intentional?
I don't think it was intentional. FFSU it's quite a difficult name. Was a bit faster than Mayo on the whole lap, and was trying to gain this position. And I think he should have gained it maybe on the start-finish straight or something where it's more easy to do this overtake. Dunlop Kere is a bit difficult to get it right, because if someone blocks the inside line, yeah, you cannot overtake. And usually you block this inside line with a car at your back. So that's not really an opportunity to overtake. In multi-class it's quite common to overtake here, because the slower car class just stays on the outside, the faster ones go to the inside. It's really common to overtake here, but in a same class to overtake in that turn, it's quite difficult. And he tried it and he failed, and I think once he saw that it's not going to work out, he just locked his tires and then went into Mayo.
Yeah, that's definitely a bit of a problem there. Maybe could be taken to the stewards for that, because that's definitely cost Mayo time, and definitely give Mayo some damage. So Mayo might have some rear suspension problems, or even rear drivetrain problems, and it's definitely going to be a definite problem for these guys. So it's definitely interesting. At the Grand Prix, Matt's into the pit lane once again. Is that for a set of the slick compound tyres? We're going to have to ride on board with Matt here. Obviously, it's not necessarily helpful that there's not too many lights in the pit lane, so we can't necessarily see what tyres they are going on. This might just be a drive-through penalty. Not sure just yet. Yeah, so is this going to be the slick compounded tyres, or is it another set of the wets? I believe that's the wet compound tyres, and I think Matt just might be going for maybe the testing sort of just testing all the tyres, really. Could even go onto a set of the all-terrains.
I think he just crashed, and because he had no headlights when coming into the pits, so he probably just crashed into something, and without headlights it's like suicidal to race now at this track, at these conditions.
Yeah, it's definitely suicidal, if you remember that song. but yeah, it's definitely interesting. Very challenging conditions we have here. Obviously, it's not the easiest conditions to drive in. The dark, the rain, the wet, the cold. You know, sitting in practically a bucket of bolts that could catch on fire at any moment. Is very challenging for most of these drivers. But they seem to deal with it in quite a good psychological way. 4 laps remaining in the rest of this Grand Prix. From when Flyboy crosses the line. There you go. Now 4 laps remaining. Yeah, so it's very, very interesting to see. Maybe Flyboy could have the option to maybe start to head around the outside of Vectro there, but takes quite a wide line. Should probably go back to Allo Champs, who's been very consistent the whole race, really. Trying to catch up to Flip Flip, who looks very, very slow. Around about 5 seconds between the two, so Allo Champs needs to start to close up now and to get the position done as quickly as possible. To try and get around the outside or inside of Flip Flip to try and move through this Grand Prix and try and get the infamous P3 that I know he's able and competent to do. But we can only hope that Allo Champs will start to move up to P3. But then again, we can only hope that Flip Flip will be able to defend for P3 as easily and as quickly as possible. But yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one for these drivers here today, and it's definitely going to be a very strategic Grand Prix, as we were saying at the start. No one's come in for the slick compounder tyres, I don't believe, just yet. But at least it's better conditions in Germany than it is here in Melbourne, with 12 degrees outside. Not necessarily cold, not necessarily warm. I believe on track, I'm actually not too sure what the temperature is on track. It looks about, I don't know, 18, 20 degrees or so. But maybe with this rain, it's probably dropped a significant amount. Allo Champ's taking quite a wide line through turn 1 there. Not able to necessarily get that front end turned in using second gear, I think it was. But yeah, only 3 laps remaining now, as I have a big old yawn. Yeah, but the cars will definitely be starting to lack some grip, lack some pace. Allo Champs has more than enough fuel and has more than enough gravel on his tyres now. And Dirt, who I think he just got wrong there through turn, I think that was turn 6 there, maybe turn 7, but yeah, definitely got it wrong through there. Maybe do you reckon he just stepped out the rear end of the car and it just didn't comply? But usually we don't see Allo Champs. Yeah, he's such a stable driver, we usually don't see him do stuff like that.
I have to admit, I didn't watch the stream at this very moment. Usually he's very, very consistent driver. If the rear steps out, that happens. Probably the tires are now warming up as the race line is trying out. So with the rear, you always get some problems in this kind of conditions. It looks actually like the whole track is trying out immensely. So the real race line should be dry already, and we also see lap times in the 2 minutes and 4 seconds. So it's kind of like dry conditions. So warm tires, you get some problems.
Yeah, definitely with warm tires you get some problems, especially with also warm tires as well, not just necessarily warm. But yeah, these cars are going to start to lack grip a little bit more, and probably a person we should start talking about down the field, who I was predicting to have maybe a surprise podium, was Pollux in the Renault, the young Brit. Looked like to be very competitive in qualifying. Maybe he was just quick on 1 lap pace, but he's been actually quite consistent within his times, just out of points there in P10. Definitely got some damage on the front end of his car. So also he's gone a little bit of a gamble on his left foot. Sorry, not his left foot, his right foot. But yeah, he's definitely just planting the. Yeah, he has no. He's like you were saying, suicidal. He has no lights. It's actually a little bit of danger. I think there is actually a penalty in the rain. Well, it's not raining anymore, but I think there is a penalty. Don't run your lights at night, because then other cars can't really see you, and then it's a bit of a danger to everyone else. So maybe he's instead of a safety car, maybe he's a bit of a danger car. Yes, definitely Flyboy now looking here in P6, doing well. Quite achiever once again, like Pete. Pete's back in P9, very happy to see that. Hussa closing up to Pete, I think. Or maybe he's not, I'm not sure. But anyway, we haven't spoken much about Vectro, who has no rear tail light either. So yeah, that's not necessarily good, but we're going to come through to end this race here with Pirelli, more than likely going to be the winner on his final lap of the Grand Prix here on lap 34. We haven't spoken too much about the leaders, but Cashnet's going to come home, I believe, in P2. I don't want to commentate or curse any of them at this stage. I really don't want to commentate or curse any of them at all, really. But no, it looks like Pirelli is going to get by on a reasonable amount of fuel. Obviously, these guys would have tested this track meticulously over the last week we had away from racing. Obviously, the teams had to get the cars here and things like that. So yeah, it's like real life racing. You have some breaks between different races. Some of them are quite close, and they're just week by week. But the Nurburgring has once again served up an absolute crack of the race. The first start, I know 15 laps was so dramatic. So difficult, but the man of Pirelli was just able to keep his hat on from P3 there, and that's one of the BMWs having a little bit of a spin around of, I think that might be Flyboy, or it's someone, but Pirelli is going to be the man to come across the line here to finish the Nurburgring GP Grand Prix here. I said GP and Grand Prix. Flashes his light. He's very happy. He comes across the line to finish in first place here at the German Grand Prix, and an amazing Grand Prix it was. Cashnet's going to be our next man across the line in the Audi. Cashnet, I don't know if he really deserved that second place today. I feel like it should have gone to Flip or Allo Champs. But however you make mistakes, you redeem yourself, and he did redeem himself, and is able to bring the car home in P2. He comes across the line. He doesn't look too happy. He's not flashing his lights or anything like that. He's now finished here on the racetrack. Our next man's going to be Flip to finish the race, and what an amazing drive from Flip as well. Looks like those two people in front of us were going side by side, so definitely very interesting for those guys to pull out the satisfaction and the speed that they did, and a definitely interesting Grand Prix. Flip now going to be our man to come across the line to finish out the podium positions, and behind him will be Allo Champs. Flip across the line for P3, doing very well. Allo Champs, will he be able to cross the line for the checkered flag? I believe he will. Coming through turn 16, he's done an amazing job here, and he's just been able to keep that car stable, except within the last couple of laps. He comes across the line for P4 as we look at the guys in front of us, of Pirelli and Cashnet, the two teammates. I think Cashnet, Pirelli let Cashnet go through, which was very kind, but I think they had a little bit of something to say. Vectro is going to be our next man to come across the line. Will he be able to hold out P5? He will be. Here with 40 seconds remaining before the other cars just have to come into the pit lane for being lapped. But he comes across the line. It says thank you to his team, running it nice and close up to the board, as that looks like Flyboy having an absolute session with everyone else. And I think that's, I'm not sure who that was. So, your final grid rundown here as everyone's finished the race. It was Pirelli, followed by Cashnet, followed by Flip. That's your top three there. Then we have Allo Champs, Vectro, Flyboy, Mayo, FSU, Pete, Hussa in P10. The young Swede doing a very good job. Flyboy had a 10-second time penalty, didn't affect him whatsoever. Then we had Pollux and Matt, the young Italian, not able to get that race necessarily done, under 5 laps down as well. But yes, a very, very interesting Interesting race. Heo, thank you so much for joining me for that race. It was such an amazing one. Thank you everyone else once again for joining us for the GAVRA Racing GT3 World Championship here for the Super League. Heo, I'll let you end out this one, and I'll catch you all next time.
Yeah, thank you a lot for commentating. I'm really enjoying doing it with you. So we will also enjoy you tomorrow for the club series. There will be
Yes, you will.
There will be the German Endurance Grand Prix, not on the Nurburgring Grand Prix track, but on the full one, the Nurburgring combined with the Nordschleife. There will be some light rain in qualifying, which will be quite interesting, and then we will do a full 24-hour cycle, 150 minutes of racing, so 2.5 hours of racing, endurance through the night. Lots of different aspects you have to cover as a driver. Maybe also the toilet breaks, you have to account for that. So it should be very interesting to see who can survive in these conditions the best. I'm looking forward to see that. I hope you are enjoying also commentating this race. So tomorrow I think they will start 1 hour earlier than we did today. So yeah, just tune in if you want to.
Yep, and thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
Goodbye.